Reddit, what is the most mind-boggling fact you know? In World War II, a Hungarian mathematician named Abraham Wall developed a counterintuitive method for armor plate placement while studying damaged aircraft. He observed planes returning home from sorties with large holes in them and was tasked with figuring out where to put armor plates. His crucial insight was to not put armor plates where the holes were. The holes in the aircraft that returned represented damage that did not impact the ability of the planes to return home. In other words, he made the critical observation of the bias in the data he was observing. He was only looking at planes that survived. With this knowledge, he instructed armor to be placed in areas that were not damaged, because if these areas were hit, there would be no damage in that component in the planes that return home. The inscription on the One Ring from Lord of the Rings is not actually Elvish, which quite a few people mistake it to be, but an entirely different language that Tolkien created called the Black Speech of Mordor or Orcish. Tolkien has stated that he came up with the Black Speech by thinking of the most horrible things in his life, in particular his experiences from WW1, which is why, when you hear the Black Speech, such as when Sauron speaks it in LOTR and The Hobbit, it sounds like a dialect sent straight from hell. He grew to be disgusted by the language he created so much that when a fan sent him a wine goblet with the One Ring's inscription on it as a gift, he used it as an ashtray. All of the solid objects around me are actually vibrating. Saudi Arabia imports sand and camels from Australia. Why sand though? Apparently it's better quality. I'm more confused by the camels. Camels are a common, somewhat delicate I think. I've had some guy say it to me once. Don't know how true that is. Food in Saudi Arabia and apparently Australia is the largest producer abroad. BTW, Australia has the largest feral camel population, which grows fast, 8% per year, and is the target of containment policies by the government. Read on the Wikipedia. Org wiki CAMEL-DISTRIBUTIONANDNUMBERS. Cicadas live underground for several years and emerge only to reproduce. The number of years they take to come above ground is mostly a prime number. Each species has its own prime number of years they stay underground. The reason to be a prime number is that it reduces drastically the chance of two different species meeting above ground in the same year and crossbreed, weakening the genes of both species. Edit. As several people pointed out, crossbreeding might be actually good for the evolution on the long run. However, each species is already refining their genes for ages. If they crossbreed, they have to start over the whole process. Edit. Another reason for the weird reproduction cycle is avoiding predators and competition among species, according to some replies. North American area codes were originally assigned based on population size and the ease of dialing on a rotary phone. 212 went to New York, fastest dial time possible for the most phoned area. 312 for Chicago, Alaska got 907. Mind you, this was when only 1 or 0 could be the middle digit in an area code. If you add up your area code with 0 being 10, you get a numerical ranking of your city-state's relative importance, if you will. This is no longer true as any 3 numbers can be used for an area code, so these original area codes, like rotary phones, are a relic of the past. Edit. I had a couple area codes close but incorrect. My apologies. Thanks for the comment corrections, folks. Olympus Mons on Mars, the tallest known mountain in the solar system, is so large at its base that an observer on its peak wouldn't know he was standing on a mountain because its slope would be obscured by the curvature of the planet itself. Edit. Thanks for the gold kind Reddit stranger. The placebo effect can still happen when you know you're taking a placebo. If you believe that placebo effect is some kind of magical phenomena that will happen no matter what, it will happen no matter what. So in a way you experience placebo. When I was young, a friend told me that thinking of elephants stopped you from sneezing. I believed him, and 10 years later I'm still avoiding sneezing by thinking of elephants. He was clearly lying, because this doesn't work for anyone but me. But even with the knowledge it's complete BS, it works. Truly amazing. If anything, it makes me kind of sad that everyone I tell it to doesn't truly believe me. That if sound waves could travel through space, the sun burning would sound as loud as a chainsaw at about 10 meters. You might be interested to know that NASA put out a collection entitled Symphonies of the Planets, in which they used electromagnetic recordings from Voyagers 1 and 2 to create each track. Granted, what you're hearing is a downsampling of electromagnetic waves that are normally well outside our ability to hear, but it's still really awesome. Edit. A couple people have asked me for a link to this. Here you go. YouTube.com watch. V equals OLDWKPAKRHS and LIST equals PL61I6KFSBLD0QBQSG5 like QCASJ what F8PN. Because gold edit. Thank you kind soul. There is microscopic organism called a tardigrade, also water bear, which can survive extreme environments, including the vacuum of space, by dehydrating its body and basically putting itself into stasis. Then, when conditions improve, it absorbs some water and goes back to doing whatever it does. A supernova seen from the distance the sun is to the earth will be brighter, in terms of energy delivered to your retina, than a hydrogen bomb pressed against your eyeball. By 9 orders of magnitude. We could assign an IPv6 address to every atom on the surface of the earth. Cortés landed in South America or the New World and spread diseases that after 80 years killed 21 million natives. 21 million people in 80 years. That's 262,500 people dying annually, 730 people dying daily and 30 people hourly, for 80 years straight. Eels actually have 2 jaws. The first being like a normal jaw, the second being hidden in their throat. The secondary jaw lunges forward when the eel bites down on prey, bites down on the piece within the mouth and bites a chunk out of it, pulling it down the throat. Think about the alien in the movie Alien. The secondary mini-mouth they use is based off an eel's anatomy. Edit. Thanks for my highest rated comment ever. : close bracket. That humans almost went extinct 75,000 years ago. Total population drop into around 15,000, destroying much of our genetic diversity. Betelgeuse is the 31st biggest star we know of in the universe. It is so big that, if you replaced our sun and put Betelgeuse in its spot, Betelgeuse would almost reach Jupiter's orbit. There is more bacteria living inside a single person's digestive system than the number of human beings who have ever existed in history. There are roughly 200 corpses on Mount Everest that are used as waypoints for climbers. If you count how many times a cricket chirps in 15 seconds and add 37, you get the temperature in Fahrenheit. No one ant knows how an ant colony works, yet an ant colony emerges from many ants. Each single ant is following its basic impulses and reflexes, based on its immediate surroundings, and yet the colony can react to intruders, build more tunnels, and gather food, as if it were one large entity. It's a commonly known fact, but I think it's pretty mind-boggling when you think about it. Edit. What's even more mind-boggling is if you use this to think about your brain. Your neurons are the ants and your brain is the ant colony. Each neuron can receive electrical input from any number of other neurons firing. If the amount of input crosses a threshold unique to each neuron, it itself fires. This electrical impulse then travels to any number of other neurons, and the same process occurs in each of them. This is how your brain works. From this simple process emerges complex thought. You are not the neurons in your brain, you are the extremely complex colony of neurons that emerges. Each neuron is utterly meaningless, but from this meaninglessness forms meaning. All the amazing things your brain can do. Edit 2. For further reading I recommend Gödel Escherbatch, An Eternal Golden Braid, Chapter 11, by Douglas Hofstadter, and the preceding section, and Fugue. The McDonald's coffee lawsuit. The woman wasn't the one driving the car was parked. She was in her late 70s. She sustained 3rd-degree burns. The coffee melted her clothing and skin, which fused her legs together, and her labia shut. She went into shock and nearly died. McDonald's had received hundreds of burn complaints already from serving their coffee at near boiling. They offered the lady $800. After 20 years of imagining some dummy scolding herself while driving, this was pretty mind-boggling. That despite what they might have you believe, literally no one has ever had their mind blown by a BuzzFeed article. You mean no one's brain exploded when they say read 37 breakup texts they couldn't believe were real? The longest piece of literature in the English language is 3 5 million words long, and counting, is written by a 21-year-old guy in Arizona, and is a fan fiction of Super Smash Bros. Brawl Edit. Apparently, now it has over 4 million words. In the 50s, when it was still okay to smoke in a courthouse, a lawyer might put a wire in his cigarette. That way, if the defense was really taking it to you, the jury would get distracted by your magical cigarette that never ashes. Case closed. Astronomer here. The most powerful magnetic fields in the universe are from magnetars, which are neutron stars with crazy magnetic fields. How crazy? Well, on Earth, your typical magnet has a strength of about 1.25 Tesla. A magnetar will have 10 carat 10 Tesla. This is so strong that the magnetic field would literally kill you if you get within 1000 kilometers of the magnetar by distorting the electrons in your body too much. Even more interesting, while there are some theories out there, no one really knows why these souped up magnetic fields exist at all. Neutron stars have tons of mysteries. Edit. Lots of people are asking what exactly happens to you. Basically all the electrons and the atoms in your body would be stripped away, so all the molecules would break apart. So you'd be ionized into a whiff of plasma, basically. The random events, the accidents, and the conscious decisions that took place just to get me here. I just think of my own life, and how I would have a totally different wife and kids if my dad didn't take XX job in XX city, or if my parents didn't get divorced, or of course me not even being here at all, if they didn't have sex that night I was conceived, etc. What if mom had a headache that night, or dad said something wrong at dinner? Or what if he did, and it was the makeup 6 that really got me here? Then multiply all those possibilities times each preceding generation and thousands of years of ancestry and humanity. Sheet. Each one of us is a miracle resulting from a combination of events whose odds I can't even fathom. In considering the creation of the universe, either there was nothing, and then there was something, or there has always been something. Both of those are impossible, but one of them is true. Crocodiles are essentially immortal, and die not through old age, but because they become so large that feeding themselves sufficiently becomes too momentous a task, and they starve to death. There is no reason why the alphabet is in that specific order. The fact that no matter what, there are always at least 2 points directly opposite each other on the globe that have the exact same pressure and temperature and the same time. Yautu. Bexan NN6PFT4 good source ep. But this starts around 10 minutes. The 15 largest ships create more pollution than every car on the planet combined. Despite what you see on the news, we are actually living in the safest time in all of human history. If you believe that you're truly one in a million, there are still approximately 7,184 more people out there just like you. Humans have about a quarter-second response time to visual stimulus. We experience the world with a 250 ms ping. Cleopatra lived closer to today than to the time the pyramids were built. Also, Oxford University was founded before the Aztec Empire. A small fraction of the static on your TV is radiation left over from the Big Bang. The most successful sniper in the history of Western civilization was likely Simo Häyhä of Finland. During the Winter War of 1939 to 1940, when the Russians invaded, Häyhä set himself up in a tree, in below freezing temperatures, -4F to -40F, armed with only 2 weapons, possibly a M28-30 rifle and a Suomi KP-31 submachine gun. And then he started killing Russians. Lots and lots of Russians. Edit. Just learned that on one particular day, Häyhä recorded 25 kills. When the Russians realized that this one sniper was picking them off, they set counter snipers to kill him. Häyhä killed them all. So the Russians sent artillery strikes and those didn't work either. After killing an average of 5 Russians a day for over 3 months, Häyhä was finally stopped when a Russian soldier that he shot and killed at the same time managed to get off a shot with an explosive bullet that struck him in the jaw. At the end of his career, Häyhä had 505 confirmed kills and is estimated to have killed at least 300 more soldiers. Oh, and that explosive bullet didn't actually kill him. Huiho survived and later became a successful dog breeder and moose hunter. Edit 2. Huiho, not hey also. This is my new top comment. And my inbox died. Edit 3. Okay, it has come to my attention that at least some of the above is the embellishment of the story over time. Our Ask Historians has some interesting posts on what really happened. Reddit, Ask Historians comments for quotator a ridiculous sounding snipper kill counts back. Edit 4. Ignore edit 3. When you look at the night sky, pick out a specific dim star and look at it. The fact that you can see it means that a few million years ago, a few million miles away, that star emitted a photon. That photon traveled the cold vacuum of space for millions of miles, narrowly avoiding all other objects, for millions of years, before you were born. Continued into our solar system while you aged, reached our atmosphere, and plus finally, right when you walked outside, and looked up at the sky, made contact with your eyeball. Edit, since this post is getting a lot of feedback, I'll clarify a few things. Saying millions of miles is incorrect. The nearest visible star with the naked eye is Sirius, which is 8,611 light years away. That is over 50 trillion miles away. That means that light emitted from that star would take 5 billion years to reach Earth. I'm going to leave my error in my original comment to encourage further discussion on doing proper mathematics when considering orders of magnitude. Second edit, wow, I'm unable to math today. Thanks for all the replies pointing out my mistakes in my edit. Please remember to check the replies before pointing out the exact same thing, since I've gotten about 100 replies stating that it would take 6 years for a photon to travel 6 lie. You're all correct. Voyager 1 has been traveling at a rough speed of 38,000 miles per hour. That's 17 kms or 11 ms per second. The damn thing does a marathon in under 3 seconds. And has been traveling in space since shortly after the first Star Wars movie came out in 1977. In the past 50 years, at this incredible speed, I know it likely varied its speed on some of its initial journey. Assuming a rough estimate, it has made it to a distance of about 8 billion kilometers, 7 billion miles, away from Earth. That's about 118 AU, astronomical units. Seems like a lot, right? It's only 0.001 light years of distance traveled. Now imagine 1 light year. Just think about how far something would travel in a whole year at the speed of light. The closest star, besides the sun, is 22 light years away. This is why we don't have aliens landing in our backyard and never will. Edit, had my AUs converted wrong. Pneumonia ultramicroscopic silica volcaniconiosis is a lung disease you can get from breathing in volcanic ash. It's also the longest word in the English language.